Hi, my name is Oluwatosin. Very quickly today, I'm going to just take us through something that I read sometime in the week, and I've just had to really reflect on. And so here we are. I don't know if this happens to everyone, but there are times when I read the Bible. It happens very often when I do study the Bible on my own, and I will just come to some lines, some words, phrases as I'm reading, and I will just put my hand on my face and scream like, I will literally scream like that because it will feel like the word, the sentence just jumps and it's in my face. It's in my face and it's dancing and saying, look at me. That's how it feels sometimes. And so this particular passage, when I read, I just had this phrase that spoke to me. Let me put it that way. A phrase that spoke to me. And so we're reading through First Samuel 8, and I'm not sure how I got here, honestly. I'm not sure how I got to this. I don't know what the study was about. But anyways, we get to this point and Israel doesn't have a king. If you look at the Amplified Version, that's the beginning of chapter 8 is tagged, Israel demands a king. And so they don't have a king. They don't have someone that's ruling over them, a person that's ruling over them. They have judges, they've had prophets, and it gets to this point in time, Samuel appoints his children, his two sons. He appoints them as judges over Israel. And they're not doing a good job. They're doing a terrible job, if we're being honest. And so the rulers come together and they say, Mr. Samuel, not Mr., but they say, Mr. Samuel, your children are not working. They are not doing what they need to be doing. They are making life hard for us. And so they come to him with the truth of the matter. But something is wrong in this complaint. They come to him and they say, you know what, we want a king. Why? Because everyone else has a king. Give us a king. We want a person that can rule over us. And so they go to Samuel, and Samuel is disappointed. He's so disappointed in them, and he takes this to God. He says, God, see what your people are asking. They're asking for a king. They want someone to rule over them. They have amnesia. They cannot remember the things that you have done for them. They can't remember that you are in this equation. They are asking for someone. They're asking for something tangible that they can see. And so God says to him, God knows these people. He knows them. He has been working with them. He knows the type of people that they are. And says, they're not rejecting you. They're not rejecting your children are terrible at their job, but they are rejecting me. And so he says, you know what? Go to them. Tell them, I will give them a king. But if you do get a king, this is how he's going to rule you. This is what is going. And so there's a list of things that God gives them. He says, if you get a person, if a person has to rule over you, he will lord over your children, he will lord over your daughters, you will take all of the first fruits to him, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And so he gives them all these things. He gives them the information. He tells them, if a person rules over you, this is how it's going to be. And they're like, we don't care. Give us a king. And I kept thinking about my life and reflecting on how there were so many times that instead of remembering on and just dwelling on the times when God had come through for me and when God had provided, even when my mind wasn't, fixated on that thing. And I just forget, I have amnesia and I forget all those times that God provided. And I find myself just hustling. I hate the word hustling. I don't know why, but that's something for another day. And I find myself hustling and I'm worrying, and I'm a naturally anxious person. And so I find myself being very anxious. How will God provide for this? How will He do this? How will this happen? And I find myself so fixated on something else and wanting something tangible, like what plan can I put in place that will give me this result that I have? What can I depend on that I can see? What job can I get that would provide for all my needs? I don't know if there's any job like that, but if there are, please send them my way. But anyways, I'm looking for a job that I can so depend on, that provides and will give me everything I need. I'm looking for a man that will take good care of me, will love me, will treat me well, will this, will that. I'm looking for friends that will always be there for me. People, tangible things that you can touch, you can see. And because we want to be like everyone else, we want to feel like everyone else, even though we lie to ourselves every day, that we want to be special, and we are special, and we are wonderfully and fearfully made. There's something deep down inside of us that wants to be like everyone else. But this passage just reminded me that God is not calling you to be like everyone else. He doesn't call us as a body to be like everyone else. He wants our lives to point back to Him. He wants these other nations to look at Israel and say, these people don't have a king. What's so peculiar about them? And then someone comes and says, oh, they have a God. They have this God that they serve. And someone is like, they have a God that they serve, and He takes care of them, and all of this and all of that. They're doing well. Well, let's go and see what's going on there. But instead, no. They wanted a king. They wanted a person. And when we read through the story of the kings of Israel, we know how that turned out. And so anyways, here's just a reminder that God hasn't made you and I to be like everyone or anyone else. He has made us uniquely. We are people set apart. Israel was, people, they were handpicked by God. And even in His mercy, He picked them. He still carried them, even when they were so stubborn, just like we are, and they were so strong-headed, just like we are. He still chose them. But they got to a point and they said, we don't want you anymore. They got to that point. They wanted tangible things. They wanted a person that could lord over them. And so, yes, I just reflected on that, and I felt very strongly about who do I recognize as king in my life? Who do I call king over my life? Is my job my king? Is my family my king? Are my friends my king? Is my man my king? And yes, I've just said at a time of reflection, and I hope that you can reflect also and just refocus. Let's put our focus back on God. Let us make sure that we are not choosing anything else, something tangible over God. Let's remember that we are a people of faith. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. Without faith, it's impossible to serve God. And if you're looking for evidence, I mean, the world is evidence of God. The world is evidence of His grace and His goodness and His works. And you yourself are evidence that God exists. So here's a gentle reminder, and I will see you in the very next video. Bye.